We've been out there for far more than 30 years than those lodges have been.
Tonight, tensions on the water in Haida Gwaii over a fishing lodge and COVID-19.
We have lived without sewer for the good 3 or 4 years.
And a look at housing in the Decho region of the Northwest Territories. Good evening. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Melissa Ridgen. 10 First Nations communities across the country will be getting $60,000 each to support land protection and environmental studies. The Minister of Environment and Climate Change announced that today. Here's Jamie Pashagumskum in Ottawa.
The money will mostly go to monitoring programs and to pay the salaries of Indigenous land guardians and land-based activities. The program is called the Indigenous Guardians Pilot Program and was initiated in 2017. Environment Minister Jonathan Wilkinson said it is especially important today due to climate change.
There are no groups that are better equipped to help us to ensure that we are monitoring and understanding what has happened with our natural environment than Indigenous peoples who, for generations and generations, have taken it upon themselves to be the protectors. So it is really a partnership to try to help us to do better with respect to nature.
The program was developed through consultation with Indigenous communities for the protection of ecosystems. Out of 100 proposals this year, 10 submissions were selected. Valerie Courtois is the director of the Indigenous Leadership Initiative. She says they are pleased to see supports for new Guardians programs, and it means more Guardians will be shaping the future of their nations, and more lands and waters will be managed for the benefit of all. The next round of submissions is scheduled for September. Jamie Pashagumskum, APTN National News, Ottawa.
Tensions continue to rise on Haida Gwaii over a luxury fishing lodge that opened. The Haida Nation wants no tourists on the island because of COVID-19. The lodge and Haida members are now having verbal confrontations on the water. Lee Wilson reports.
If guys get hurt, it's going to be a real problem. Who's going to hurt us? You're running in front of our boat. We're not!
An edited video posted on the Daughters of the Rivers Facebook page shows the confrontation between an employee of the Queen Charlotte Lodge and Haida members that took place on Friday, July 17th. The Haida Nation are opposed to tourism operators opening during their state of emergency, which does not allow non-residents to the island. BC is currently in Phase 3 of the reopening, which allows for non-essential travel within the province. The video shows 5 lodge boats swiftly passing Haida boats on the water, which leads to the exchange.
Our inherent right to occupy our ancestral lands. We've been there since time immemorial. We've been out there for far more than 30 years than those lodges have been.
Paddles, they can't really go too fast.
Another video posted online Tuesday, July 21st, appears to show lodge boats speeding past Haida boats at close range, with one vessel circling back. Now the Haida Nation says they don't just want the lodge closed during the pandemic. The Council of the Haida Nation released a statement saying the lodge is no longer welcome on Haida Gwaii. QCL has shown a disregard for marine etiquette in safety and repeatedly charging around the vicinity of smaller boats at high speeds. If Queen Charlotte Lodge has ever been welcomed, it has lost its welcome on Haida Gwaii. APTN reached out to Queen Charlotte Lodge for an interview, but did not get a response. Lee Wilson, APTN National News, Haida Gwaii.
Nunavut is once again back to being the only jurisdiction in Canada with zero confirmed cases of COVID-19 during this pandemic. Today, Nunavut's Chief Public Health Officer announced 2 earlier presumptive cases at the Mary River Mine have actually tested negative. The negative tests were confirmed at a lab in southern Canada. At this point, neither test cases nor the contacts have developed any symptoms that are consistent with COVID-19, and there's no evidence of any transmission at that mine site. In a world first, a group of international researchers have analyzed thousands of ongoing environmental standoffs across the globe. They found Indigenous land defenders are more often threatened by arrest, violence, and in some cases even death. But as Lindsay Richardson reports, the threat is not enough to scare resistors into backing down.
It was Indigenous youth who led the way down the streets and into the history books during Montreal's 2019 climate march. The reasoning was clear.
Indigenous people have for centuries and millennia protected the local environment.
But new research shows Indigenous-led resistance often escalates from demonstration to confrontation, even when peaceful. An international study, the first of its kind, analyzing over 2,700 ongoing environmental conflicts, found those protesting injustice often suffer from high rates of criminalization, physical violence, and murder. But that's not all.
Actually, these numbers increase dramatically when Indigenous communities are involved in these conflicts.
Leah Temper is a researcher with McGill University who contributed to the study. Information was gleaned from the Environmental Justice, or EJ, Atlas, an interactive conflict map she co-directs. With one click, learn about logging in Haida Gwaii, or industrial salmon fishing. A click further south in Nevada shows Western Shoshone tribes fighting gold mines. The scope of the exploitation can be overwhelming, but Temper insists it's not all bad.
We see them as positive because actually we see that communities that are being polluted, communities that are being dispossessed, communities that are being pushed off their land are standing up and saying, we refuse to be polluted.
And at times, they actually stop projects. Temper recalls when Vedanta, a British company, wanted to build a mine and refinery on a sacred Indigenous site in India.
For them, the mountain was called Nia Marasha, and it was actually the resting place for their god. And the mining company, in a sense, was planning to behead the mountain, behead their god.
India's High Court eventually threw out the project. Eyes are now on Canada, where more than half the world's mining companies are based. Hudbay Minerals, for example, is headed to court to fight allegations of rape and exploitation while developing a nickel mine in Guatemala. There may be more cases to come.
It shows, first of all, that you can win against these multi-billion-dollar projects, and that there is the potential to recognize the cultural values of communities that are saying this land is sacred for us, and, you know, we have the right to decide what happens on our territory.
For many, these battles come at a great cost, but are considered necessary for the protection of land, identity, and ways of life. Lindsay Richardson, APTN National News, Montreal.
We're heading to the NWT to explore the unique housing crunch there. That's after the break, but first here's tomorrow's weather for the east and central parts of the country. On the east coast, we've got 26 and sunshine for Charlottetown, 24 and cloud for Fredericton. Nain, 20 degrees and some showers. Kuujjuaq, cloudy and 17. Sept-Îles, 22 degrees with showers later. 27, mix of sun and cloud in Montreal. Ottawa, 27 with some showers. Sault Ste. Marie, sunshine at 25. So Lookout, sunshine at 28. Kapuskasing, 27 and sunny. Churchill, 28, sunshine. Same with DePaul. 26 in Winnipeg with showers. 30 for Dauphin and Brandon and sunny skies. 30 for Swift Current and Regina, sunshine. 30 in Saskatoon, but some showers later. Stony Rapids, 26, sunny. 29 in Meadow Lake with some cloud and then showers. Welcome back. A missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls advocate has teamed up with an award-winning photographer to raise money for memorials in Edmonton and eventually across Canada. Chris Stewart has that story.
This collection of prints are on display at Edmonton's Old Strathcona Arts Emporium on White Avenue. The prints are a combination of photography and digital art. Shauna J. Cerniak is the founder of Every Woman Empowered. She offers workshops and seminars aimed at Indigenous women. Now, she wants to raise money for her project, Change, to create memorials for missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. She teamed up with photographer Heather Fryer to create limited edition prints of strong Indigenous women. They hope to sell them to raise funds.
I originally wanted to work with people that were advocates. So, for example, Voices of Change is a photo with myself as the founder of Every Woman Empowered, and we have April Eve Weberg, who is from Stolen Brothers and Sisters Awareness Movement. And then we have also Kathy King, who is from Missing Kara, and she's one of the mothers of a murdered and missing Indigenous young lady.
Heather Fryer says this work is her favorite.
I'm very proud of that one. 3 powerful women standing. They look brave, strong.
We want to honor our murdered and missing Indigenous women. So we have these monuments that will either go on a roadside where the murdered or missing was last at, and or in a park, so that those loved ones can go and be there and reminisce.
The limited prints can be purchased at the photography store or online, along with clothing and cups.
So it's going to be a long project. I mean, we do have to raise a lot of dollars to make this happen, and it's not a cheap project to do. But what's great about this is that while we're raising the money, we're also creating awareness.
The display here will be running until August 15th. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
Some gorgeous artwork in there. In the Northwest Territories, it's not uncommon to spend years on housing wait lists, but when one community member in Jean Marie River was was offered a new home, she had to make a tough call. Charlotte Mort-Jacobs has that story.
About 80 people make up the small community of Setsek-Kedele, Jean Marie River, nestled in the Dehcho region of the Northwest Territories. But good housing is hard to come by. Melanie Norwegian, her husband, and her 2 kids moved into this house January 2019. There was mold and broken pipes. The house, owned by the band, had stood empty for over a decade.
We have lived without sewer about a good 3 or 4 years.
It was still better than living in a tent frame at her parents'.
And when I came to an opportunity that the band First Nation, I applied for housing in the past, and they denied me because me and my partner, he make too much money.
Norwegian began her own renovations.
Over here, it would be just full of blackness with like mold from upstairs.
And there's still lots to fix up.
Lots of cold air coming from all the windows, so we're losing lots of heat.
Earlier this year, the band offered Norwegian the chance to rent one of 2 new mobile homes given to the band by the NWT Housing Corp. But they're on Crown land, where occupants would need to pay property tax, insulation of power poles, and propane tanks and hookup.
But I had to balance it out, and I was thinking to myself, how am I going to do this? I'm just starting up a business.
Chief Stanley Sangus admits the 2 units are a Band-Aid solution for the 10 community members in immediate need of housing and another 10 on the wait list. With no store in the community, there's little economic opportunity. What he wants is to start up the old log sawmill.
And this is the first prototype home that we built with the lathing machine that we got. And that's how the machine is uniform that way.
Sangus wants his community to be able to build their own homes.
The mill itself would harvest the wood, and hopefully that we'll have a log building training again and trying to encourage people to help us build their own homes.
He says the band will need to ask the GNWT for a few new machine parts, but discussions have been delayed to purchase them during the pandemic.
Here we have an economic development we could create out of the sawmill here. Jean Marie had a history of building 3-sided log homes years ago when my dad and we were still alive.
Melanie's aunt and former GMR chief, Gladys Norwegian, says it will take more than just a few new homes to tackle affordability and adequacy issues for First Nations housing.
How is it that in 2020 we're still talking about it? We've been struggling with accommodations, or not accommodations, housing, I think ever since we start living in communities.
Now Grand Chief of Deitcho First Nations, Gladys has been exploring possible pilot programs used in other communities for transitional housing.
Think about some social problem. If some people are willing to go to treatment for alcohol abuse, for drug abuse, then they would be considered priority as they leave to go and do their treatment program while they're away, perhaps renovate their house.
A deciding factor for Melanie in whether or not to move came when discovering the history of her home.
And right here's Florence Hardesty.
She learned it had belonged to a respected elder.
I want to make sure my kids are stable, and to give them an elder's home is more than a blessing.
Charlotte Mort-Jacobs, APTN National News, Jean Marie River.
It's been 3 decades since the Oka resistance. When we come back after the break, we're going to look back at that monumental moment in history from the eyes of those who were there. But first, here's the rest of tomorrow's weather for the west and the north. In northern Alberta, we got 25 at Sunshine for Fort McMurray, 24 for Grand Prairie, 29 in Sunny and Lethbridge, 34 in Medicine Hat. Kamloops 30 degrees with showers, 30 in Penticton and Sunshine, 18 in Fort Nelson with rain to come, 17 in Smithers and rainy. Mayo 20 degrees, sunny skies, Watson Lake 17 with showers, same with Whitehorse. Fort Simpson showers and 12 degrees, Fort Laird 18. Nunavut 18 and sunny, same with Tuktoyaktuk. Paulatuk is 10 with sunny skies. Whale Cove 22, sunshine. Arvit mostly sunny, 13 degrees. Igloolik 11 and mostly sunny. Cape Dorset 11 but some showers. And Calumet will be 10 and some showers. Years ago this August, a convoy of about 70 vehicles carrying mostly women, elders, and children left Kahnawake Mohawk territory. They were seeking refuge from the approaching Canadian Army and the looming end of the so-called Oka crisis. But instead, they drove into an ambush. Here's an encore of Tom Finario's story from In the Words of the People Who Were There.
25 years ago, it's a long time ago, and to try to bring back the feelings, some things you want to forget.
I was at the council office, and I was being told that there are plans for a group of people to leave the community. They're not warriors, nothing like that. It was just ordinary people who wanted to get away. You know, they said, it's time, we'd like to go.
I was on the bridge all summer. That's my second home. It was supposed to be peaceful, and they were supposed to be protected to go across.
That haunts me to this day because I felt that I could have and should have prevented that somehow, some way. Because I know you can't trust those people.
They had to come across the bridge, and they made them wait on the bridge for hours while the people built up at Whiskey Trench.
They call it Whiskey Trench because Seagrams used to be all along that area.
Radio stations in Montreal started talking about, you know, all these people leaving and that everybody should go there from all the, you know, from wherever in Montreal, whatever else, and hundreds of people showed up. The SQ knew it, the RCMP knew it, and they let them through. They said, okay, now it's time to go. And then they got stoned the hell out of them.
This is what they threw at my father. This is what hit him in the chest. I'm going to keep this, and I'm going to remember those faces.
She was driving with my mom and my dad in the car. My dad wasn't well. He was laying down in the back seat, and I guess that's why the rock hit him. When it went through the window, it hit his chest because he was lying down. I remember she said, you know, the cars in front was like, don't stop, just keep going. You know, this is what She kept saying, don't stop, just keep going, please don't stop. How could people do that? You know, to women, children, and elderly. It was just unbelievable.
We were watching it, yeah. Just everybody saw red. And it wasn't just light, it was dark red. We came to the point where a group of guys was going to go open fire. They actually got down with a vehicle a good long way. And half that crowd would have been on the ground. To us, it felt like a setup, you know, to let them go through and let the people stone them. And as they were being stoned, you watch, the police officers were laughing. They weren't doing anything. They didn't protect them, which is what they were supposed to do.
You're damn right they could have done more. They could have let them through right away if they were really were sincere about allowing people to leave the community. So the police are just as much to blame as maybe more than anybody else, because those people that were there were idiots, and the police knew that.
I'd have to say my father never recovered fully from that time. Went into a very deep depression, very quiet, very to himself.
As far as I'm concerned, there was an attempt to kill our people. That's what that was all about. Not just to say, you know, just to throw rocks at them. Injure, maim, kill. And, you know, that's what really upsets me. And like there was never any kind of real investigation. There was no kind of inquiry. People are still, to this day, I think they've been affected by that. The ones who were in those vehicles, going across, having that happen to them, you know, it's incredible. It's an incredible story that nobody wants to acknowledge. Everybody just wants to sweep that under the rug. You want to talk about looking back 25 years ago, you want to talk about incidents and things that happened, that's one of them, you know. And people now that are still around, still alive, they should be ashamed of themselves. Such a cowardly act.
Never expected that. I mean, like I'm saying, I know there's racism out there, but I've never seen it to that, like a hatred toward our people, you know, to come out in that kind of violence.
For all the stargazers out there, time is running out to view the Neowise comet as it travels past our solar system. Tonight, the comet will make its closest approach to Earth at 103 million kilometers. See it before it's gone. You could find a dark spot away from lights starting after sunset. Just look below the Big Dipper. It should appear as a fuzzy star with a tail to the naked eye, or you can use a telescope or binoculars to see it in more detail. The comet will only be visible for a few more weeks and is already fading as it travels away from the sun. Neowise will not be seen again for over 6,000 years. Well, still out of this world, 2 astronauts completed the 300th spacewalk at the International Space Station yesterday. I'll leave you with some video of that. I'm Melissa Ridgen. You have a great night.